All right, Shalom. First, I want to start off by saying, Call Allah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachaha Kodash. Double honors to the head apostle, and others a great millstone who rule well and teach well. Peace and blessings to you, sincere Akim, that are pushing this truth all over the four corners of the earth, week in and week out, in all truth and sincerity. This is the brother Mackathiah from the GMS Virginia camp, coming to you through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Yahweh being the true and holy, powerful name of the Heavenly Father. Yahweh Shai being the true, holy, and powerful name of his only begotten Son, who in this world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Bahashem is in the name, and Lord willing, this will be edifying lesson/information. It's going to be a response to the video you see on the screen by the channel entitled Endure These Last Days 4. His video clip is entitled, Who Are the ICE Agents? IDF? ? All we know is martial law is on the way. And the brother couldn't have put it better. As we see these various different things that are happening, not just in America, Babylon the Great, but in these various different lands abroad as well. Now, I want to play this video clip concerning these ICE agents. All right, these ICE so-called soldiers, so-called, you damn near, you could call them a militia, right? And who these individuals actually are or could be, right? So without further ado, let's go ahead and play a portion of this video clip. Fair use, fair use.
Just found out that a lot of ICE agents are actually IDF soldiers.
This is crazy as fuck. I need everybody to save this video just in case it gets taken down again. I just did a video about 30 minutes ago. I've been trying to get it appealed. The appeal did not get approved. Anyways, I presented some identities, okay, of certain ICE agents located specifically in Chicago, a group that I associate myself with, went through some public records and found over 2,000 ICE agents, right? Well, throughout those 2,000 ICE agents, specifically 121 of them, right, had experience as an ex-IDF soldier. If you went up and down this entire list of individuals, you'd notice that their last names in particular, right, all lead back to one specific location with no other job experience. And maybe it won't let me post it because it's personal information. I have no idea. But there's literally a whole motherfucking list of these people, and they all look the same. Which tells me exactly why they're choosing to hide their faces, because just imagine, right, if some information like that were to get out, which is why I'm making this video once again. I'm just saying, if you look into the background of these specific individuals, you might notice that they're not exactly a U.S. citizen. That in itself would prove everything, especially why they're acting the way that they are.
And this is, very, very likely. Okay, we have seen months ago when they were in the hiring process, so to speak, of these ICE agents, these quote unquote immigration bounty hunters, etc. Like the information the brother's putting on in this video, you got to ask yourself, it is very suspect that these ICE agents, every single one of them covers their face, not just a minute percentage, or every now and then you might see an ICE agent with their face covered. Every single ICE agent has on dark shades, dark glasses, or some type of eye covering, and also full face cover. Okay, I'm just going to read some of this off of this Newsweek that is being put on the video that you see on your screen. It says ICE considering paying private bounty hunters to track immigrants report. And this is from some time ago. Okay, this is November 3rd, 2025. It says Immigration and Customs Enforcement's ICE is reportedly exploring a plan to contract private bounty hunters and to offer financial incentives for locating and verifying the whereabouts of migrants. And these incentives are very, very lucrative. You can do your research on that. It says, according to a procurement document obtained by the Intercept. Let's read this next one. It says the document reportedly describes giving contractors dockets of 10,000. Slocky. Let me read that again. The document reportedly describes giving contractors dockets of 10,000 people at a time with additional assignments in increments of 10,000 up to 1 million. Earlier this year, a group of military contractors, including former Blackwater CEO and Trump ally Eric Prince, reportedly circulated a plan advocating for private and initiatives to track immigrants, according to pitch materials obtaining by political, and they're using all types of various different tactics. Okay, they're using your cell phones. Of course, they're using the grid. Using social media, using all these various technologies that a lot of people don't even know about to track down people of interest, so to speak. So just holding up in your home, not coming outside, not answering the phone, not going to work. That might work at the beginning, but eventually, if they want you, they're going to get you. Okay. Esau has technology to see right through your house, see right through your home, to pinpoint locate you, to even, these ICE agencies are using the various different apps that you have on your phone to almost predict your next move and location you will be at. Okay, it says, according to pitch materials obtained by Politico, the proposal, including a bounty program offering cash rewards to state or local law enforcement officers for each undocumented individual detained. So they're getting paid for each individual that they, turn in, so to speak. Okay.
The IDF trains American police officers and ICE officers in Israel?
They train with U.S. ICE, with U.S. Homeland Security,
NYPD.
with NYPD. And that's what's called through a SME program, subject matter exchange.
And let's do a little bit of who the IDF is. The IDF is the Israel Defense Forces. Okay, the military forces in Israel. All right, they are also known by the acronym IDF or Tazahal. All right, the IDF was founded in May 26, 1948, shortly after the state of Israel declared its independence. Okay. Now, this is, I believe personally, that there are foreign troops, IDF soldiers, all right, also foreign troops from various other nations as well that are under the umbrella of ICE out here in these streets, these cities of Babylon the Great. Okay. I also believe that there are various different left-wing and right-wing groups, white supremacist groups, etc., that are the badge, the the mask of ICE. Okay. And like I've said in the past, who do you think the first ones to sign up for that immigration bounty hunter program were? Huh? The ones that couldn't wait to get their hands on you, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Okay. Real quick. Let's go to Amos 3 and 6 real quick. This is Amos 3 and 6. It says, shall a trumpet be blown in the city and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in the city and the Lord hath not done it? So all these things that are happening are ultimately of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. We see the various different protests, people in outrage, the stability of these various different cities that are ultimately, it's ultimately happening constructively by design by these wicked elites. Okay. We're also seeing the various different things that are happening elsewhere, you know, concerning abroad from America. Okay, which also Esau is heavily orchestrating, has a heavy hand in as well. All right. It says, shall there be evil in a city, and the Lord hath not done it? Surely the Lord Yahweh will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophecy. To the Spirit and power Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, we got the secrets. We know what's going on. We know what all these things will lead to, according to prophecy. All right. And we warned you, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, that soon you will see foreign troops on the soils of Babylon the Great. Now, these articles that we're reading, could it be true? Or, this video that, the brother put up going into the topic that IDF soldiers are under disguise of ICE. Is it true? Hey, it very well could be. I believe so. But it doesn't take away from the fact that there will be foreign troops soon, if not already, on the soil of America very, very soon. Okay, let's keep going in this video.
Where our police, etc., train with them. So these National Guard soldiers that will soon be in or are in Chicago have trained with and train with Israel habitually for years. So when you look at all of these pieces of
and months ago they were doing all those urban training exercises. Okay, what do you think they were training for? All right, they were training for a domestic a domestic plot. All right, they were training for an agenda that was set up by these wicked elites concerning these various different agencies, disability, going into people's homes, gathering people, taking them to who knows where, right? And even at these ICE facilities, these detainment camps, people are reporting, abuse, right? That are not being taken care of, deaths, etc. That is not being pushed on the mainstream news.
Who do we have operating on the streets of Portland and the streets of New York and in DC? And who's going into Chicago? All components and elements that have trained hand in hand with the IDF or the Israeli Ministry of the Interior, Gendarmerie, paramilitary police.
Absolutely amazing. I also
That's
heard
not a
they
coincidence.
They do anti-Semitism training, not just physical training, but brainwash training basically for them too.
So there you have it. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 7 and verse 34 in the NLT. And it reads, I will put an end to the happy singing and laughter in the streets of Jerusalem. The joyful voices of bridegrooms and brides will no longer be heard in the towns of Judah. The land will lie in complete desolation. And, as we see, once again, the Lord is causing that mirth to cease. Now people are angry, they're mad. People are choosing sides, picking sides. You see the protest, the outrage from the people all across the various different 50 states and these cities in these states in Babylon the Great. And this is only going to escalate. Like we told you, Israelites, we told you from the previous protest, all right, that this was only going to escalate. These protests were going to continue. Things weren't going to get better. And ultimately, what you're witnessing is the beginning stages of Jacob's trouble, okay? And also civil war. Let's go to 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter. And you got to understand that, a foreign troop has a lot different mindset than a domestic troop, someone who actually, grew up on the soils of this particular land, has friends and family, relatives, this, that, and so forth, that he's not just over here to do a job and then go back to his country. The actions are going to be different. The mindset is going to be different. Their job is going to be handled differently. This is 2nd Ezra 15 and 15. For the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. And this is happening all across the board. All right, the people, against the police task force, ICE agents, also concerning, race wars, right? Civil war, the left versus the right, okay, as well as World War III. It says, "For the destroyed and the sword, for the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands." And you see what's happening abroad concerning not just Venezuela but Iran. All right, now Donald Trump's talking about invading Greenland. Russia and China, they're preparing for war and battle, as well as North Korea and these other nations. Okay, Iran has already made their statements concerning the United States if they get involved with what's going on in their particular country. And Esau, he talks with that double tongue. Here it is, he's talking about the protests in Iran, but meanwhile there's protests right over here on his soil, right over here in America, right? Which people are dying, okay? Innocent, so-called quote unquote innocent protesters, innocent bystanders are being killed right over here on this land, and we know the numbers are being puffed up concerning the amount of deaths and things that are happening over there in Iran, like Esau likes to do. Okay, it says, for there shall be sedition among men. Okay, people are going against the government. They no longer trust the government. It says, "For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power." So people are beginning and will start taking matters into their own hands because of the various different things that are happening. All right. And Esau is basically, inducing what you're seeing. Okay, or I should say, what you will see concerning that civil war. All right, because Esau wants people at each other's throats. He causes these problems, and he's already got the solution already designed. It's already written up. It says, "For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city." Salakia, my whole phone keeps Salakia. Bring my app back up. This is 2 Ezra 15 and 17. Continuing on, it says, "A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able," because martial law is going to be declared, which Trump entitled that what is it, the Insurrection Act, I believe. So we're right there. We're right there at the point of martial law being declared and more troops. See, they sent these ICE agents out. That was phase one, so they can bring in the real military, so they can bring in the real foreign troops, right? So they can really lock these cities down. It says, "For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid." You think it's going to stop? You think these ICE door-to-doors are going to stop? No, they're going to increase. All right. Verse 19, "A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation."
Found out that a lot of ICE agents are actually IDF soldiers.
This is crazy as fuck.
Yeah, is Esau going to come out and tell you that? No, he's not going to tell you that. He's going to call that what? Dis and misinformation. And, we don't have proof and documentation to prove the things that we're saying. All right. But it's highly likely, and it just makes sense, right? This is Psalms 58 and 3. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. All right. You can't trust this, man. The scripture says, "Never trust thine enemy." And still in the midst of all this happening, right, And you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native are witnessing, living through, experiencing all the lies of Esau, Edom, all the fake promises. You still have our people, on the tip of their seats, on their tippy toes, believing the words and the next words that come out of the devil's mouth. It says, the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Their poison is like the poison of a serpent. They are like the deaf adder that stoppeth her ear, right? Esau Edom's focused on everything and anything else when it doesn't have to do with him. Okay, but when he's called out on his bullshit, when the light's on him, he uses various different deterrent tactics to take the focus off of him and take the focus on anything and everything else, including you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And all this is geared to and ultimately going to lead to the nations gathering for that great battle, that great war. All right. Salakia. Which this is all part of prophecy. Okay. All roads lead to the MOTB and World War III.
I need everybody to save this video just in case it gets taken down again. I just did a video about 30 minutes ago. I've been trying to get it appealed. The appeal did not get approved. Anyways, I presented some identities, okay, of certain ICE agents located specifically in Chicago. A group that I associate myself with went through some public records and found over 2,000 ICE agents, right? Well, throughout those 2,000 ICE agents, specifically 121 of them, right, had experience as an ex-IDF soldier. If you went up and down this entire list of individuals, you'd
you got ex-IDF soldiers, you got, left and right wing groups, militias, you got white supremacists, definitely in the midst of these ICE agents. You got people that just don't like you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Really, you could say just don't like any other people but Edomites, right? That are the prime candidates and members of this immigration force. Let's go to 2 Ezra 13 and 29. It says, behold, the days come when the Most High will begin to deliver them that are upon the earth, and he shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth, and one shall undertake to fight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another, and one realm against another. So this stability, which is ultimately being created by Yahweh, by Shem Yahweh Shai, right? From race wars to civil war, okay, to even the wars amongst the nations concerning World War III, which will lead to the war against Yahweh Shai and the angels. All right. This is all set up and controlled by the Heavenly Father Yahweh. It says, and one shall undertake to fight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another, and one realm against another. Because soon these nations are going to gather together as one to try to subdue the man that came from the sea, try to subdue Yahweh Shai, who the world English calls Jesus Christ, right? And they're going to try to fight the Lord, which they will not succeed. Let's go to the book of 2 Ezra chapter 7 and verse 43. And, DJ Nero Trump, he spoke about the prophets, the perennial prophets of doom, right? Who spoke about World War III and great catastrophe and all these various different things, which we know he was speaking about, the men out there in the highways and byways, right? It says 2 Ezra 7 and 43, but the day of doom shall be the end of this time and the beginning of immortality for it to come, wherein corruption is past, right? The end of this time, which results in the end of the rulership of Esau Edom. And the beginning of immortality is concerning the kingdom, starting out with the elect of the nation of Israel, right? It says, in the beginning of immortality, for to come, wherein corruption is past. All right. It says, and intemperance is at an end, infidelity is cut off, righteousness is grown, and truth is sprung up. But first, the wicked has to be taken down. Okay. Which it speaks about that in Isaiah, the 14th chapter. It says, verse 45, then shall no man be able to save him that is destroyed, nor to oppress him that hath gotten the victory. Let's close out with Revelation, the 12th chapter. This is Revelation 12 and 12. It says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devils come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans have been warned. Esau Edom's coming down with great wrath upon you Israelites, because he knows that his time is short. So the various different things you see happening are only going to increase. And really, this is just the beginning. All right. And Jacob's trouble is here. And it's only going to escalate. It's only going to get worse. Lord willing, that was edifying. Once again, subscribe to the page Endure these last days 4. I'll leave the link in the description box. Watch, subscribe, and be edified. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachaha Kodash. Double honors to the head apostle, and that is a great millstone who rule well and teach well. To the next time, Shalom.